It starts with a message. From a new follower who says they want to get to know you. But what starts out as harmless flirting can quickly turn to blackmail. Shane, not his real name, had just turned 21 when he got a message on TikTok from someone who looked like a woman his age. He had a decent following on the platform with thousands of followers.
Nothing out of the ordinary, a load of people messaging me, commenting, liking, etc. This account didn't stand out, looked just like every other account. They said they're originally from Glasgow, but the way they spoke, it sounded like they just lived down the road from me. There was nothing really out of the ordinary than what I was seeing on Tinder or any other of the dating sites, other than I was on TikTok.
After messaging back and forth for a while, the woman suggested they move to a video call over Facebook Messenger.
Well, the call happened and I could see there was a girl staring at me through a camera, and it looked like the profile. I got intense really quick. She typed into the chat that her microphone wasn't working, and within about, I'd say, 2 minutes of the call, her clothes were off on the screen, and she was messaging asking to see me and etc., and asked me to take my pants off.
Within seconds, Shane noticed a red record button on the screen and knew something was wrong.
I, in a lap of judgment, obliged, and I could see a little red dot at the top of my screen, and then the call ended. Within a few seconds after the video call ended, there was a 2 or 3 second long clip of our video call, just of myself taking the clothes off. Straight away my heart sunk. I didn't know whether to shout or cry or scream or throw the phone or do what. And I instantly knew straight away, this is a scam. They're going to blackmail, this is blackmail.
The demands came immediately, and the woman Shane thought he was talking to started to reveal more about their actual identity.
Straight away they were asking for money, €100. They were just very aggressive and demanding.
As the pressure mounted to send money, Shane started screen recording everything that happened next.
Don't worry, I swear and promise that as soon as you send the 100, I will send you the link here and show you how to delete it. With proof, I will not harm you if you do what I ask.
The payment details Shane was given didn't match the name of the woman he'd been messaging on Facebook, but they linked to an account thousands of miles away in West Africa.
So I sent over the money, and then straight away he just kept demanding more and more. It was non-stop.
Shane keeps explaining that he doesn't have any more money, but the requests keep coming.
Don't mess with me, we only know you have money. I'll give you 1 minute for my tip. Otherwise, the video will end up on YouTube, and I'll decide for you and force you to pay.
Shane again responded saying, I don't have that kind of money.
Don't annoy me, don't make me angry. Otherwise, I will post the link to your video.
They started creating group chats with friends of my Facebook account and counting down in them groups. Like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Had about 4 different groups going with 7 friends per group.
At this point, Shane says he's going to the police.
Go to the police, you will only make the situation worse. This video will be shared all over the world and made available to all your loved ones as well as your parents and friends.
And very quickly, even as Shane tries to negotiate with them, the scammers follow through on their threats.
They just kept putting up the image in the group. It was a little 2-second long video clip recorded from the original call, and they just kept spamming it like non-stop. They went into my friends or people that have shared stuff on my profile and just sending the video in the comments as a share link, and they must have put at least, say, 20-30 comments per post.
These videos were being sent directly to Shane's Facebook friends.
They were colleagues, they were friends, they were mutual friends, family friends. It was quite literally anyone you can think of that could have seen it. Like.
Shane's experience of being blackmailed over an intimate video is not unique. Cases of sextortion are becoming more and more common.
It's something that we're seeing increased reporting of. What we're seeing is that, and that particularly in the last 2 years, is that young males are being targeted in the age group of between 18 and 24. They're being engaging with individuals online, on social media, messaging apps, dating apps, and sharing intimate images and videos. And what that ultimately leads to is the person on the other end, the individual themselves or a crime group, making demands for money or making demands for further images.
This is a pattern that international law enforcement agencies are seeing too.
I mean, we see it very high. I mean, you can look at any sort of statistics, and what you'll see is an increase from, especially like from 2024 to 2025, of a huge increase of just reporting.
This is especially the case in West Africa, which has emerged as a hub for this type of crime. Shane scammers were likely based here.
It is organized, so you do have those that are going to be recruiting. You do have those that are operating the profiles. You do have those that are going to have to go out and work with the money mules once the money is sent to recruit that. And then you're going to have a tech support kind of team. But what AI helps with, I believe, is it allows like a single operator to run a ton of different profiles, accounts, things like that, where used to maybe you'd have to manage them with more people. I think that AI is going to allow more automation, so it's going to make this crime type even more difficult to combat.
Once these groups get the image from the victim, they follow a familiar pattern.
They're going to put, immense pressure on you, put shortened timelines, things like that, say that they're going to talk to your friends, they know who they are through like social media.
For Shane, that pressure became overwhelming.
There was a lot of thoughts, dark thoughts, angry thoughts. There was just, I didn't know what to do. To be honest, I got an answer. I broke down in my room. I just sat there and I messaged everyone privately saying, this is a scam, don't open the link, just the usual. My account's been hacked. I was contemplating just leaving, packing up, going, blocking everyone and going. I didn't know how to confront my parents or anyone to tell them this has happened. But I brutally honest with you, I wasn't in a good spot.
Some people who watched the video reacted badly, which had a serious impact on him.
There was jokes about calling me a pedo, calling me, other not so nice names. And it has really affected me personally, as well as emotionally and physically. Friends and I guess as colleagues, customers were seeing the image. Some of them, to this day, I haven't spoken to them since. They just blocked me and don't want anything to do with me. I felt dirty, and I do still feel dirty when someone brings it up. I feel like I'm not a victim, but I'm a suspect.
But Detective Superintendent Sinead Green says Shane and people like him are victims of a serious crime.
That's really difficult to hear, that somebody feels that they're not a victim, because, as I said, this is a really serious crime of a sexual nature, and the only way to target these individuals is to come forward to us and report it, not to feel shame, not to feel any embarrassment about that, and we are there to help you.
Shane did report the crime to his local Garda station, but generally victims don't tend to report, which is a major issue for law enforcement.
This crime type is so underreported. So FBI just says that 15%, their estimate is that cybercrimes globally, 15% is reported. But for crimes such as sextortion, where the shame and embarrassment and all this is so incredibly high, there's no way of knowing.
By reporting, Interpol say the gangs can be brought to justice.
Law enforcement in Côte d'Ivoire was able to break apart a cybercrime ring, and these criminals had been, basically committing fraud and doing sextortion to get intimate images back, where they were, using them, again, for extortion purposes, and 24 people were arrested.
Working with the Irish internet hotline, Shane managed to get his video taken down, but the impact of what happened stays with him.
I seek counselling for it, and socially, on dating apps, I'm very cautious in relation to anything like that. I don't really engage much in social media anymore.
But he wanted to speak up for other victims around the country who might be going through the same thing in silence.
Do come forward and don't let it build up, and don't try to deal with it on your own.
That's Kate MacDonald reporting. With us now is Mick Moran, former Garda and formerly of Interpol, and the current Chief Executive of Hotline.ie that you heard Kate just mention there at the end of her report. Mick, we're hearing there in Kate's report that there is a boom, there's a huge increase. Is it possible to put numbers on it? Just how common is this in Ireland?
In Ireland, I mean, last year in our annual report, we had 201 reports, of which 62 were transferred to the Garda. So that's 62 last year. I can't give you exact figures right now, but I can tell you that's up this year. And I would like to congratulate that young fella for coming on the television there and speaking about his experience.
Not an easy thing to do.
Not an easy thing to do, and you can hear the shame, you can hear the kind of... That's what they're weaponising ultimately, you know. And, like, the figures that we are getting, that we're seeing in the Irish Internet Hotline, that the Gardaí are seeing, can only be the tip of the iceberg. Because how many people, as he said, he thought of, you know, locking his bedroom, you know, of packing up and disappearing off the face of the earth. Unfortunately, some people do go to that level and even beyond, and we have had suicides that are linked and related to sexual extortion in the past. There's no doubt about that.
It's an appalling thought.
Yeah.
Where are people being targeted? We heard Shane there, as he was being called, mention dating apps. Where in particular are these scammers going to catch people?
They're going anywhere where there are young men. These young men are absolutely the target of this. And so wherever they're hanging out, wherever they are seeking connection, they will be targeted. And so that happens to be dating apps. It happens to be on the Facebooks and the Googles of the world, and the chats and the Snapchats and the Kik Messenger and Telegram and places like that. So really, it's wherever that age group are hanging out is where the targeted scammers will go.
Now, it's easy from the comfort of your armchair at home to say, "Gosh, that's obvious," or "You'd never fall for that." But it is much easier than we think. What are the red flags people should look for?
So the young, you know, especially young fellas should be wide open to this. And there are two main red flags. I mean, the first red flag is that somebody wants to get involved in cyber sex with you within a few minutes of meeting you. That's a huge red flag. And the second red flag is absolutely being moved off the platform you're on into another platform. And you can see there with that young fella where he said he was moved from Tinder, I think he said he met the person, and they moved him to Facebook Messenger. And you can see that there's two reasons for moving you to Facebook Messenger. One is Facebook Messenger can be recorded, the interconnection can be recorded. And secondly, they get access to information that they need to close the trap. You know, they get access to your contacts.
Build a profile of you.
They can build your profile. And from there, they can do open source searching and find your LinkedIn profile. They can find you, from anywhere.
Places they could expose you, so to speak. In that case there, Shane handed over money.
Yes.
Yet they still put out the content that they were threatening to do. So what should you do if you find yourself in this situation?
You should absolutely contact the Garda. You should absolutely contact the Irish Internet Hotline at hotline.ie. You should absolutely lock down your socials immediately, even delete them. Why not? Absolutely do not accept any phone calls. They may have got your phone number from one of your other profiles, but absolutely lock down your social media. Ignore all calls, ignore everything. And the main thing is just have nothing more to do with them. Do not give them money. I mean, in his case, it's fine. They came back at him immediately looking for more. What tends to happen is within these organised crime groups, his details will be passed into a secondary team, and the secondary team's job is to go for the second cut. So, they're that organised, they're that systematic. And you're up against organised crime here, so you're never going to win.
We're almost out of time, but
yeah.
And Shane referenced it there, the impact it had in his life, how people reacted.
Yeah.
But people like him speaking, raising awareness, how important is that?
That's ultra important, and there's plenty of help out there. And you heard he went to his local Garda station, which I'm presuming was a rural country Garda station. The guards are aware there's training. The Detective Superintendent Green was on there. She said, like their unit, the Protective Services Bureau, are training guards all over the country. So there's no shame in going into a Garda station, asking to speak to somebody privately, explaining what's on. There's no shame. We're used to this. The guards are used to it. We're used to it at the Irish Internet Hotline. You'll get any help, and we'll do everything we can to make it just go away.
It's a terrible situation to find yourself in. Mick Moran, thanks for speaking to us this evening.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Well, if you've been affected by anything you've seen or anything we've just been talking about, you can get help at rte.ie/helplines.